Now we can't just let it be like this. It's gonna have to have some texture to it. So I'm gonna start with this PMI sculpting tool. And I'm just gonna give it a little bit of texture that's going around. So it looks like the top of a tree. And this is all done completely freehand because I don't need it to be exact. So you can see I'm sculpting around like this. And I see a little air bubble in here, so I'm gonna take my knife and just pierce it and flatten that down again because you don't want air bubbles in it. So I'm gonna do that. Now, I am a true believer in using what you have on hand and not buying special tools. So my favorite place is the dollar store. I go to the dollar store and I buy all kinds of crazy things that I use on my cakes. So for example, this is a peeler vegetable brush. So I'm going to use that, and I'm just going to kind of hit it with this a little bit because you want it to have a texture like wood. So I'm just going to give that little texture in there. And now I also bought these two things. These are both to scrub your dishes with. I like this one especially because it gives it kind of a funky wooden feel. So I'm just going to press that into the fondant kind of all the way around. And it gives it kind of a texture around the top. And then I want it to be not perfect, so I'm going to give it a couple of really nice digs in there. And you don't want them evenly, you know, don't want to do all the way even around. And then a couple from the side so it looks like it's been scarred. You want this tree to look like it's had a life. All right, so I think we're good on that. I think we're good on our center, our top. Give it a little more texture. Now we're going to do one last thing to it. We're going to paint it because we want it to have a nice wood texture to it. So I've got my paint right here. And I've got a little vodka to paint with it. And these are just AmeriColors. I'm using chocolate brown and ivory. And I'm going to mix a little of each color and give it some little bit of swirl to it and a little bit of depth to it. When you add color to it, what you're doing is you're adding depth. Because right now that's one flat color. But when I take my brush, dip it in the vodka, and just lightly dip it in the paints, and bring it around, you can see it's going to give it depth, and it brings out all those marks you made into it. It really makes those marks come out. And that's what we want. We want everything to show that you've put in there so it looks old and craggly. And so we're going to bring that in, take those all the way around. And I'm not being exact. I want to get some darker spots, lighter spots. Just going to be real rough with the whole thing. And I'm going in a circle because I don't want to go across. Because all of your marks and everything are circular, you want to kind of work in that circle that you've put in there. Let me add a little more vodka. And I'm going to get some dark lines in there. I'm kind of hitting the dark paint a little harder and going to do that so that it gives it that darkness to sections of it. Like that. And then if it feels like it's going too dark, you can also always go back into the straight vodka. Let me get a little bit more in there. And you can brush it out and it'll smooth it out a little bit. It won't be so dark. So let's keep going around in the circle. And I like it to be a little bit darker around the edges and a little bit lighter in the center. So I'm going to keep my darkness towards the edge. Like that. And then kind of work my way in. Okay, so there you have your top of your tree. And now we're ready to add the outsides.